During times of change, nothing is more important than a teacher, parent, team leader, or top leader communicating well. This video gives you 7 key approaches to communicating effectively during change. As part of these 7 key approaches, I'll also highlight ways that leaders derail communication when the heat of change is on. Key approach number 1. Get real and specific about what is ending. I realize that this doesn't sound very supportive, but it is. Dealing with endings, especially what we know is ending, what we are yet figuring out, and when we'll know the rest, is key to setting the stage for communication that builds trust. I worked with a leader during a merger who, rather than speak to endings, wanted to do a visioning session. As he said, "We want to keep it positive." I tried to talk him out of it, arguing that you won't have the energy to create something unless you deal with endings. He disagreed and pushed ahead. His visioning session was a disaster. Employees pushed back during and after the meeting in subtle and not so subtle ways. As I told him, once you're clear about endings, that is to say, what we know is over, what's in process, and when we'll know the full story of the change. Otherwise, people will stay stuck. Key approach number 2. Remind people of what they already know about change and resilience. Change can be stressful, but one of the most effective things you can do is walk people back into times when they were navigating change. What did they learn that can be helpful to others? I did this with a group of people who were going through change. I had them think back to times when they were navigating change, and it either worked out or didn't. Regardless, what did they learn that could be helpful to us? The 10-minute exercise turned into an energized conversation of 40 minutes. The list of lessons learned was less important than their emotional experience of feeling that they had the capability to make the change less scary. And as you would expect, they navigated change well simply because they remembered their own insights. Key approach number 3. Watch your time in Pity City. It's natural to want to complain during times of change. One way to deal with anxiety is visiting Pity City or complaining. And if you spend too much time there, you develop a poor thinking habit. I was coaching a team going through an extensive process and software upgrade. I got hit with a barrage of complaints and concerns in our first meeting. That's natural, but then they repeated the complaints and concerns, and repeated. I finally called time out and set the rule that, yes, we're going to hear concerns and complaints, but we're not buying land in Pity City. They understood the analogy and agreed that they would limit the complaints to just 10 minutes of our weekly meeting. They turned a page to become a more proactive team and landed the change well, in part because they refused to buy land in Pity City. Key approach number 4. Contract for behavior. I make promises to teams, people, and leaders, such as when I'll share information, what I'll share, and how we will work together. Get promises from the people you influence during change as well. With one group, I made promises about when and how I would communicate, and in turn, asked them to be professionals, do their job in the face of a lot of uncertainty, and stop the rumor mill. They agreed, and we ended up navigating the change better than most. Key approach number 5. Process for checking in and adjusting. Change is like a river. It shifts and turns and surprises you just when you think you've figured it out. For that reason, think of your change communication as a process, not an event. It will take many check-ins to explore what's happening and where to adjust. If you build trust and have open dialogues, you will know how to adjust and will realize the benefits of change. But the secret is in the adjustment, like any project. Key approach number 6. Match your approach to communications to the level of resistance. Low resistance means they lack information, but there's little or no emotional resistance. With low resistance, you can use impersonal, one-way communication and be fine. But with medium resistance, you encounter emotional issues. They have an emotional reaction to the change, be it an organizational change, divorce, or merger. With emotional reactions to change, you must spend time one-on-one with the person or group. There's no way around this. Impersonal communication in the form of email, texts, or bulletin board postings won't cut it. One-on-one gives you a chance to build trust and be supportive while also challenging them to be part of the solution. With the highest level of resistance, there's a fundamental relationship problem that is much larger than the change itself. With this type of resistance, you must pull back from the change and focus on the relationship itself, how to build trust, and key actions to do that. A large organization wanted to change its strategy in order to survive as a company. The union wasn't on board. The relationship between the union and the company was so bad that they couldn't talk about strategy change until they did what one union representative called couples counseling. These discussions weren't easy, but they spoke to the reasons that trust had eroded, what they could do, and what they were going to do. As trust was rebuilt, the union not only supported the strategic shift but was a key reason it worked. It worked because the company used an approach to address the level of resistance. Key approach number 7. Frame the change. The way we approach change has everything to do with the way we see it. When we see change as a noble cause, it evokes the best in us to respond. Remember the movie Apollo 13? Wasn't that a noble cause, to get the astronauts home? A plant manager got word that the plant would likely close within the year. With little to lose, he gathered his leaders and shared the news. Stunned, one of his leaders suggested that they frame the change as the last voyage. Who doesn't want to give their best to the last voyage? He liked the idea but suggested they share it as an option with the plant personnel rather than make it so. The plant personnel appreciated their honesty, liked the last voyage idea, and said they would do what they could to work with excellence to the end. It was a small town, and no other options existed, so this last voyage frame inspired them to do what they could do. Oddly, market conditions changed, and the plant stayed open because it had become one of the most profitable and efficient. The plant manager's idea to frame the change as the last voyage and engage his leaders and workers honestly and invite them to join was genius. And it saved the plant and kept the small town's local economy afloat. In summary, be honest and speak to endings as a key first step in times of change. Draw out from others the lessons they have already learned about change and resilience. Don't let people build a house in Pity City, only complaining in small doses, lest it become a habit. Contract for specific behavior and act in alignment with the promises you make because trust is everything during change. Make sure you have a process for checking in and adjusting along the way. Match your approach to change communication with the level of resistance you see. And finally, frame the change in a way that inspires people. If you got value from the video, like it and subscribe to the Change Capability Institute for more content like this.